Here we go. What is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. We are getting that much closer to the fantasy football playoffs, which means we're talking fantasy football trade deadline buy now players to help us get us over that threshold and bring home a fantasy football trophy. This is what it's all about. It's about the crunch time. We understand the waiver wire is getting thinner on the daily. We're dealing with bye week Armageddons. We're still dealing with injuries, and we still got to revamp our teams to get into that, championship mode, for lack of a better term. I'm here to win trophies and championships. Hope you guys are as well. I got 6 players on my board who I believe that could take us over the top and be those league winners that we could definitely utilize and win those trophies. Stack that trophy case, baby, because that's what it's all about. Let's talk running backs on the board. David Montgomery, Monty, my dude. You guys know this, man. I've been preaching up Monty since the offseason. Love me the Gibby and Monty show. I know they got a different nickname, but I'm sticking with mine, even though it's just their last names shortened. I still love it, man. Montgomery's been an absolute beast. The Detroit Lions still one of the best, if not the best NFL team so far this season, and they continue to roll, especially with this run game. They are so damn good. That offensive line continues to hum. Monty and Gibby hit every single week. It is without question, and I realize it's going to be very difficult to pry them off somebody's squad, but if you got depth at, say, wide receiver, where a team that does have a Monty is a little bit wide receiver needy, that's when I got to believe that you could pry him away from another squad, man. Trend right now, running back ADP at the beginning of the season was 21, y'all. He is ranked right now as the running back 10, which is an ROI of plus 11. Absolutely love the returns that we got. If you trusted and drafted him, you know you got supreme value overall for him. Strength of schedule is very good for these Detroit Lions moving forward. We got Indy, we got Chicago, Green Bay, Buffalo, at Chicago, at 49ers to finish it off for the fantasy finals. He's got a turkey day in there as well versus those Chicago Bears. They just score touchdowns. 90% on the boom rate for a Monty. He hits every single bloody week. It's just the ample of consistency. Him and Gibby, they do not miss. If you're betting players on DFS, the anytime TDs for a Monty or Gibby is like easy, free money, man. Do it every single week. Almost 600 yards and the 10 TDs rushing for a Gibby right now. 152.6 points. Is absolutely stellar for this running back, and I absolutely love it. If you can find a way to get a Monty on your club, yes, you're going to have to pay a premium. Do not sell the farm to make your team worse. The whole object of this is to make your team better. So like I said, if you got depth at wide receiver that you can spare and you send it over to a Monty wide receiver needy team potentially, or quarterbacks or whatever you got in the depth category, if you can get a Monty on your team, I absolutely endorse it because I got him in many leagues and he is absolutely carrying my squad. Tony Pollard, next one on the board. Okay, you know what? I was a naysayer on a Tony Pollard. Like I said, I can always admit when I'm wrong. I fell in a couple leagues this year in redraft where I was able to get a Tony Pollard down the board because he was the best available player on the board. I wasn't necessarily happy about it when I made the draft selection, but he's actually surprised me quite a bit, and it was only due in part to the circumstance of these Tennessee Titans and how they are not built to win football games. Will Levis, there were still lots of question marks coming in, still are today. I mean, they got rid of a D-Hop, still have a Calvin Ridley. At least they're opening that up. It was addition by subtraction when they traded a D-Hop for letting Calvin Ridley be the guy. It was definitely addition by subtraction, but it has not hampered Tony Pollard basically whatsoever. 60% on the boom rate. He hits most of the time. Okay, last week did not go so well, and the week before or 2 weeks before didn't go so well for him either. But 160 attempts right now for almost 700 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, added 30 receptions. So he has been helping us in the pass game in the PPR upside, which has been uplifting his stat lines right now. Almost 200 yards in the pass game, 117 points. Good enough for rank running back 21. It's not a great, stat line for him overall to be the running back 21. You're like, well, why am I going to get this guy? Look at this schedule coming into the playoffs. Yes, okay, Houston, Washington, very difficult contests here in week 12 and 13, but you got the Jags, you got the Colts, and you got the Jags from week 14 to 17 with a Cincinnati Bengals in between that. So the schedule is very promising, especially since the Titans are going to be playing spoiler most of the time, meaning there is risk that they could shut Pollard down, but I highly doubt it, as what else do they got to play for? Who's going to be here next year on this offense? Tony Pollard definitely showcased the fact he can carry the load. There hasn't been much of a Tajay Spears where that might increase as well, but I love me some Tony Pollard, especially in my flex option. If he's your running back 3 or even running back 4, you're laughing all the way to the bank because you're not relying on a Tony Pollard. He's giving you good, 15 points per week when he does hit. It's very good news. He does help us along the way. It's those aggregate points that we're looking for as well, aside from our top dog scoring. Tony Pollard does the business majority of the time. 60% is good for running back 21. His ADP was 27, so you're getting +6 on the ROI from where you drafted him. I am buying a Tony Pollard all day long. Bucky Irving, this rookie. Okay, you know what? Maybe I was a little low on him as well coming into the offseason, but so was everybody else. ADP 53. I like Bucky coming out of Oregon. I just wasn't necessarily convinced that he was the in-between-the-tackles guy in the NFL. He could carry a 3-down workload. He definitely has proven me wrong. Abso-frickin-lutely. He is a stellar product and a rookie, and he's only moving in the right direction. But it does go in part to the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do still utilize a Rachaad White, and it is a perfect marriage where Rachaad White isn't necessarily the explosive back from the backfield, but he's so good in the open field. Still don't understand how that does work. When you see Rachaad White play, it's baffling, man. He looks like he's running through quicksand in the backfield, but when he's in the open field, it looks like he's floating on air. So I just don't get it, but that's where Bucky Irving comes into play. Perfect complement to a Rachaad White, and his ROI trend +26, y'all. 53 was the ADP. He's currently running back 27, 103 points, still hitting on the 50%. It's only because he started out the gates quite slow, and I mean, he only started gaining traction about, week 5, week 6, so it's still very good. Their strength of schedule, with a Mike Evans coming back from injury, the, progression of a Cade Otton, everything is looking in the right direction for a Bucky Irving to dominate down the stretch as well. New York Giants, Carolina Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders, LA Chargers, Dallas, and Carolina for the championship. Unbelievable schedule we got for a Bucky. I mean, things can definitely change as we keep going down this line, but we kind of know who the teams are and who they're not, and who's going to be, tanking for the rest of the year, or who's playing spoiler. You know the Buccaneers are still involved in this playoff race, and Bucky Irving is definitely going to be one of these guys. He is an absolute buy now candidate as we hit the trade deadline here in fantasy football. He will definitely pay big dividends for y'all. Wide receiver, Zay Flowers. Okay, I've been very critical on Lamar Jackson majority of the time when we say, before this season came in. I said it was going to be Derrick Henry uplifting the Ravens to potentially being a massive Super Bowl contender. I still believe it, and it's on record back in the offseason. I still do believe it. Derrick Henry has, changed how this offense does go, but there are times where we do see how they do look anemic. Still, Lamar Jackson can't put the cape on, be Superman, and carry it from some games like this past week from these Pittsburgh Steelers. Very strange. They just could not get things together, and then putting Derrick Henry on the bench on the 2-point conversion. What are you guys thinking? I digress, man. It's still a buy now player for Zay Flowers. He is ranked as the wide receiver number 8 from our ADP 26. You kidding me? +18 for this wide receiver. And he's at a point right now where some managers who do own him currently are getting a little bit frustrated. I mean, he saved his day last week with a late touchdown. Did help us out a lot. I mean, he's been booming on a 54% clip, so it is good, but it's not great. It's not what we want to see. So you're getting majority of his 127 points in a handful of contests rather than being spread over the entire, 11 games that they have played so far. We want to see a little bit more consistency. I mean, we were dogging it with a Mark Andrews basically majority of the season as well. He's come back to life, but Zay Flowers has done very well. 52 receptions on 79 targets. He is going to beat his career high. 727 yards. He's going to destroy this on the career high. No question. 1,000 yards. Got to be coming for a Zay, and 4 touchdowns. A little bit lower than that, but he's going to still crack that on the career high as well. So everything is pointing in the right direction for Zay Flowers to have a very good end of the season. Chargers, Eagles, Bengals, bye week, Giants, Pittsburgh, and Houston to finish it off in the Fantasy Football Championship. So you know the Ravens are definitely fighting with the Bills, with the Chiefs to get into the playoffs to try to, even they're probably out on the home field advantage at this point unless, Buffalo and Kansas City do start to stumble down the line, but they still will compete. They still will throw the football, and Lamar Jackson, credit to him, he's played very well this season overall with a couple stumbles of 4 games where we could say, yeah, that's not really what we want to see. Zay Flowers definitely is one of these guys, even as my wide receiver 2. The ranks, people are going to say, well, he's ranked number 8. There's no way you're getting him. There is possibilities. Believe me, depending on how other teams are playing, if you can assist and help their roster still compete in the fantasy playoffs, people will make trades. I'm telling y'all, you just got to offer up the right stuff without harming your team. It's all about getting that value, and value goes both ways. It's not like you're trying to rob from another team. You just got to get the value in the appropriate manner. I'm definitely buying a Zay Flowers. Another rookie on my board, Marvin Harrison Jr. A lot of people sour on a Marvin Harrison. Now is the time to buy this man. You could get him likely cheaper than a lot of commodities at this point. ADP was a wide receiver 9, which was way too inflated. I did not have Marvin this high. He is ranked currently as a wide receiver 20, so I understand the disappointment. He's a minus 11 on the ROI. It is not good news. 100 points on the season. It's not great, but when you look at the stat line, it is comprised based on limited target share and maximum opportunity. 60 targets is not a great deal out of 11 weeks for what should be an elite talented wide receiver 1 on your team. 33 receptions for almost 500 yards, 15.1 on the average. So when he's making plays, and 6 TDs is what's saving him right now to keep him in the wide receiver top 20. Marvin Harrison is a supreme talent. Do not get it twisted. It's just something that isn't working right now. Kyler has found him at sprinkles and moments in certain contests. We want to see higher levels of consistency. 50% is definitely not going to cut it when it comes to fantasy football. But why am I buying a Marvin Harrison right now? Not only can you get him on the cheaper deal and help another team some way, you're going to be getting a massive schedule. Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle, New England, Carolina, Los Angeles Rams to finish it off. There's a lot of green and, upside yellow on that schedule to favor, us and alleviate a lot of risk. I should say it that way. But Marvin Harrison is a supreme talent. What do we typically see out of rookies who did get drafted in the first round, who are supposed to be top-end commodities? We usually see them pop off at the last 6 to 7 weeks of the season. So definitely get ready for Marvin Harrison. He should be a big one. And not only can you get him for pennies on the dollar based on where his value used to be, I think that absolutely you get him on your team at least for depth purposes, and you can definitely throw him in on matchup play. He should absolutely ball in the last 6 games. I'm definitely buying a Marvin Harrison Jr. Last one on the board is a Jaden Reed. Came out the gates flying week 1, scored 31 points. Everyone was like, holy crap, he's going to be a baller. He's done very well so far this season. ADP was a 36 going into the fantasy football drafts. He currently ranks as the wide receiver 11. He's doing very well. Still only 50% on the boom rate, much like a Marvin Harrison. We're just not seeing the top-end consistency week to week to week. Under, 10 points last week and 8.8, I believe, on the half PPR. It's just not going to get it done. They got to utilize this man. And here's where I get confused with the Packers. They almost seem like they're confused on their identity. Are they a run-heavy team with a Josh Jacobs? Do they want to be that pass-happy team? It's almost like the difference when you had an Aaron Jones, they were okay being the pass team because Aaron Jones was such a fixture in that pass game. Now it's almost like, well, we have so many wide receivers. We have a good running back. What are we? What do we want to do? It's almost like they're confusing themselves at times. Coach LaFleur definitely needs to figure that out and utilize and go back to one of your top dogs in a Jaden Reed. This guy's too explosive to not at least give him 4, 5, 6 targets per game, and I do believe that's going to come. You still got Dobbs. You still got Wicks. Watson's starting to pick up steam as well. This should only create more opportunities. I do believe they are, telling a Jordan Love, play it safe. Don't turn the football over. He's not dealing with a, clean bill of health either. I think Jordan Love's playing with a lot of injury right now that he's not saying. The groin, the knees. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going down with the Jordan Love right now, but still, I'm a big believer. Yes, we got 2 heavy contests. 49ers, Miami. Those are going to be the toughest contests for a Jaden Reed in terms of fantasy matchups. But then you got Detroit, Seattle, New Orleans, Minnesota to finish it off in the fantasy football finals. You are going to get a heaping of plays for a Jaden Reed. I absolutely love it. 123 points on the season. He's still doing not too bad as well, but look at the target share. 49 targets in 10 games that he's played? They've already had the bye. It's not a lot of targets, man. You're talking 50 targets for what could be your wide receiver one on this team. This has got to increase. However, the efficiency rates are still very good, higher than the consistency rates. He's up in the 70th percentile when he is getting efficiency rates. So this is a good news, positive situation that we want to see for a Jaden Reed. I absolutely love it. 4 tutties, 16.9 on the average. They will continue to utilize him on the jet sweeps, on the drags, hopefully get him into the open field, and he is a yak machine. He will do goods for us. Definitely buy a Jaden Reed. But there you have it. That is fantasy football trade deadline. I mean, we got to revamp our squads as best as we can to set us up for a long playoff run. This is the crunch time. 2 weeks of bye week Armageddon, like I told y'all, this week, and then week 14 with a Thanksgiving break in between that. So it is good news that we will have some alleviation from it. But by the time it's done, we're already in the fantasy playoffs. So we got to get these players to help us out, and they will carry us down the line. But there you have it. That is buy now players. I'm stumbling right now. Buy now players as we enter week number 12 and never less. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. I am out.